Hi! Welcome to Dreadnought Part 21. So, last time I did a bit of work on this here gun. I kind of worked on building the gun, but well, as I quipped at the end of the last video, now I gotta load it. So I'm gonna have to have some kind of shell loading room. You can see this. So I'm going to have some kind of shell loading room here, some kind of machinery down there, and then again the thing that goes nice and straight down that represents the actual shell elevator. So that'll be reasonably fun. Ah boy, looks like this might have actually been a little off kilter, but you know, I'll have to work around it, I guess. It happens. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead then. And I'm going to get started on making this a somewhat better setup. And then I want to see if this actually, hits anywhere important or not. Because that was the big reason why I built this, is to see, hey, is this going to interfere with anything down there? Alright, well, I might as well go figure that out. Here we go! Alright, so here's an angle from way up above the shop. I do some adjusting to try and get things sorted out, and I start listening to my phone, just have it play some audio books. And I start cutting things to shape. I think a lot of this is related to the turret so far. May not be. I think it's still turret work that I'm doing. That looks the case to me. Yeah, that's actually one of the bigger things. Is I did some work on the turrets and I did some work on the deck. So I'm doing work on the turrets in this. So the way this sort of went is you had the top of it, which I guess was called the gun house, is where the big guns were and where the shells were loaded. And then below it there was like reloading machinery to move the thing around, stuff like that. And that's what was in this, like, from what I can tell, this big giant, essentially tube beneath the turret, and I think that whole setup was called a barbette. I'm not the most well-studied in naval architecture or gunnery, I'm not gonna lie. But, yeah, so there I go, adding more levels to the turret itself. This time I'm adding the bottom piece of it. There was a gray piece that I cut out, although I don't quite add that just yet. I take a look again through the turret because, yeah, this is going to take a lot of artistic license on my part. Hopefully for the Bismarck, I'm able to actually do something a bit more realistic, a bit more true to scale. Just because, again, this whole turret was, I was hoping to try and mimic what would be in the real boat, but yeah, this is where I decided, you know what, if it looks cool, and we'll hand wave it, because this is more of sussing out the techniques for a turret than anything else. And actually, yeah, in terms of fitting, you'll see later in this video, I do a pretty good job of that. So there I go. Now I'm just cutting down little bits in the top turrets to make sure it works in the I was doing that to make sure it worked in the gun house, I think. And then I was also adding some other bits and bobs beneath. Alright, here we go. So yep, here must be where I've added the some of the turret stuff. Yeah, so that was just that one I put it in the deck was a fit check to make sure it still went down the hole. And at first I had a little bit of sticking with it, and then it eventually, I think I've cleared that problem up though at this point. What I did was I cut up a piece of plastic and I'd put it on that little gray thing. That's not what I'm working on right now. It seems I'm working on the gun house area, which is alright. Shake out my arms and hands and everything. But, yeah, so cutting some pieces of plastic to make, I think this is where I made the bits of the turret that'd be the stuff that put the shells in and everything. And that, you saw me with the phone, was just checking what time is on this camera. Has it beeped yet? Has it gone to slow motion yet or not? You may have even seen a few jumps. I'm glad to say it seems like the light is stable now. That's a good thing. Here I'm working on the deck, so I think here I've actually made a good approximation of where that turret would end up. And because I saw that it wasn't the turret itself, that it was, you know, the big thick barbette section of it that was going to interfere, I just used that section that I ended up creating to be my with the outline of the hole in the deck to outline where that barbette would be, just to, you know, create that those features in the hull. What I'm also doing is so to get the curve into these strips of styrene, I'm just squeezing them between my thumbnail and my index finger. And then if you ever wrapped presents, there's this little trick you can do with a set of scissors where you press the scissors hard up against the you know, ribbon, like, you know, every thin like ribbon stuff, and then you pull and it makes it all curly and spirally. That's what I did to make that curl up. And after getting those things to curl, I glue them in place using that circular outline, maybe using some tweezers to hold things together. And then when that's all down, that's when I put the little thin wall sections up. That like 8mm wide, whatever space I had found, to make what would be the kind of the rooms that would be as they were laid out in this thing. And now you see me drilling out the hole in the center with the scalpel. Not the smoothest setup, but it did work for this, and I'm actually going to talk about probably a lot of what I just mentioned in about half a second, so here we go. Alrighty, so figured I'd give that a odd camera angle. I don't think there's going to be anything wrong with that. Again, still got things in the shop I can't show you, but, well, you know why. And so here is, if I can nicely get it. Had to take a little bit for me to just, yeah, there we go. So there you go. There's the barbette. Or what's inside the gun, I guess the gun house. I'm using this to represent that, like, loading machinery for the barrel itself, because, yeah, these were ginormous shells. You were not going to move those easily by hand. You would not enjoy that. As I pull this up, bad news is that I have to take this up this way and then carefully wriggle that through. But there you go. So essentially you had some machinery lower that would, I'm not sure if it'll show you this nicely or not, but you had some machinery down here that kind of start moving shells into where, you know, aiming where they were supposed to go, or the powder where it was supposed to go, up in like the little doors in here. And then you'd also have in here you'd have like a little gear and engine to turn the turret around, and then up closer you'd have, you know, the stuff that would move it up or down. So there was actually a lot of loading and moving machinery in here. There were actually even literally, you know, telescopes and stuff that they would use to help sight these guns up here. And actually, these three little lumps were actually on the top of this, or where they actually did that from. So, yeah, I have officially, or rather unofficially, I should say, built my gun, or at least a representation of a barbette, to again help me gain some familiarity with the building techniques, really. And, of course, started this third deck here, which this will enable me to go downward to represent where the, you know, shell elevator really went. Because this is just a little short. I'm going to have to expand on that, I think, just a little bit more to get all the way down. But, or not. I mean, it does look long enough. It kind of does. I suppose it doesn't quite, you know, doesn't quite make it, but it doesn't really fail all that bad either. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to this and get back to the part where I'm working on these here deck layouts. Alrighty. Here we go. Alright. Here we go, after setting up the phone to play some nice music or something. Actually, no, I think this wasn't that setup, or maybe it was a little before that. So I traced some more sections, some more stuff, and I better trim that internal deck section that kind of fit into that compartment. I hate to admit that this compartment wasn't as painstakingly fitted as the others, being that there was already quite a bit of artistic license going to be needed for it. I think we can let it go. I mean, I find I'm my own worst critic anyway, so... Alright, so I tried to do this, so as we all know from the other deck section, this big barbette had a little elevator going down to the bottom of the boat for like the shells, and that went through a couple decks. So I'm trying to use a drill to get that to happen, and it is just not happening. So then I try it with a scalpel, and I end up with this crooked, oblongy hole thing, unfortunately, to be honest. I mean, hey, it could always be worse. Not super happy about it, but I guess I'll have to accept it as it is. Along with the fact that these different camera angles are not as conducive to making things clear. But here we go, another deck and another victim of my mauling it with the pin vise drill combo and the scalpel. I think it's the scalpel that did more of the damage than the drill. Although the drill bit wasn't really poking into the plastic all that good. Alright, here we go. So, the first doubt moment of the evening was when I spilled some of that scotch there. And we're going to see the next doubt moment in this that I'll reference in the next slow section. But, there we go. Oh, there we go. That was it. That's why I was having gluing trouble right there. Okay, so what you just saw was glue thing went onto model, then into drink, then back to thing, and then landed in drink. And I was like, damn it. And I was like, well, okay, very unlikely I've actually got any glue left on that. And yes, I drank the drink. I'm sorry, it's Lagavulin. It's $90 scotch. It's worth it. I'm sorry. The risks were very small in my eyes. Okay, so here I am. After doing a bit of work on trying to see if I'm trying to, trace out where exactly this deck bit should go. I put a outline of the turret in the top of the boat, and then I start cutting things out. I think this may have been after I'd created an initial, I must have created an initial turret wall, and then found it wanting, and then replaced it. Yeah, so I file out the hole with a file, and it's either here or after this next upcoming slow motion or normal speed section. I found it didn't quite do the job. I guess I must have tested it before. Yeah, I used the barbette to test that then, and now I'm digging out a bigger hole. And then decided I'd go ahead and mention something in normal speed. Alright, that was an eventful time-lapse section. Not only did I spill some of my drink, I also accidentally dropped the glue thing in it. After, thankfully, I'd gotten put the glue on, but still. Oh, well, my name is Rich, welcome to Jackass, I don't know. Honestly, it's extremely low risk, and that's Lagavulin in there. I think it's kind of worth it. Spoken like a true connoisseur. Or degenerate alcoholic, I don't know which. But, yeah, so you might have seen me do that little ribbon trick I mentioned earlier to get the curve on these strips here, and then glue it into position. Now, I'm doubling up these strips like I do in other places because I want to try to have it hold that circular form. And it does a pretty good job of it. Now, after setting that down, gluing it into position and cutting any excess plastic away, and using the glue and moving the cup so that I don't do that whole mess again. Sorry. I'm still drinking some Lagavulin. Good stuff, what can I say? Just a little off topic. I find the smoke from Lefroy to be a lot stronger. And after it, there's like this kind of sweetness to it. Like after the smoke of Lefroy dissipates, if you're, you know, dancing with your tongue out. That's me filing everything down, by the way. And I think that there's a moment then where I'll check. I'm sorry, I used that outline in the top deck bit to actually make the outline in that lower deck bit to try to have all those sort of match up better. Anyways, so Lefroy I find to be a lot smokier, which is nice. I like smoky scotches, but there's more of a sweetness after it. Versus Lagavulin is like a more of a, I guess Kelpie taste is the best way to put it. It's more, it feels to me more like a thinking man scotch, I guess, is when I think of Lagavulin. Not that you can't think with Lefroy, because you can. Okay, that was a bit of scotch snobbery. Back to the model here. Using glue, not scotch, to glue things together. And using those tweezers to, at some of the plastic joints of that, squeeze them so they stay flat. There's another thing I've had to do with those tweezers. And then you saw me cutting out the hole for that, and then sanding out the inside. And then trying to line things up, seeing that deck plate doesn't line in, and then realizing, you know, there is supposed to be a gap there. And then now I'm actually making sure everything lines up with the using the barbette. And then I realized I really do need to just tweak that inner deck section just a little bit so it all fits in nice and sound and snug and all that good stuff. And there we go. It's fitting because I've, you know, did all that alignment stuff. And then I found the little part that was, you know, just catching and keeping that barbette from coming up and down. It was something I modeled in for the turning gear that it had. And so I kind of corrected its problem there. And then I just added the to that top deck that's in the that section there, the two walls that seem to be common to just about every level of it going up. Alright, so I guess this is me rapidly approaching the end of all the time-lapse sections to the end of this video. As you can see, it's the same .080 by .010 stock that I'm using to, and then just trimming to make those wall sections. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and here's the end of the video. Alright, so what I've done here is I've got all these little pieces pretty well lined up, and am I able to actually aim this nicely to where I normally work? Can we do it? Do we have a good camera angle? Yes, I think we do. I think we do. Alrighty. Yay. Goody goody. So, as y'all can see, I've got this all lined up. This is the top deck. Then you got these ones below it. Of course, I'm going to have to do a bit of tweaking, evening edges out, etc. to make it all nicely, look kind of nice at least. I mean, on the one hand, part of me wants to say that the other pieces were better outlined. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure that all things considered, it's probably the best we're going to get, really. So yeah, now that I've got all these kind of cross sections out, I've actually got that section, well, there's still other walls in there, but it's not nearly as, it's not of nearly as much as importance as some might make it out. So yeah, alright, anyways, enough of that silliness. I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to edit this up. And that'll be, I think we're on part 21 now. Sweet. So yeah, I'm going to go pour myself another glass of Lagavulin. I'm going to get to editing this. This has been Dreadnought Redux part 21. And time for the YouTube dance of like, share, subscribe, hooray! Alright. See you next time, I hope. Peace out.